Over the last few days, there's been some very interesting and unfortunate situations happen in the industry. If you saw the video on 60 Minutes about Allegiant, it talked about the industry and a lot of the threats and intimidation and activities that are going on, and concerns we also have for mechanics, and how when we call out an item or notice something, how we're approached by supervision or other folks to consider deviating from the manual. And I just want to say that it's an unaccepted practice. It's a violation of the regulations that we signed up for as A&P mechanics. And if anyone ever asks you to deviate from a manual or a procedure, do not. And if you're given a directive to do so, follow the directive immediately, ASAP it, and we'll go from there. But that chain of events, with what we saw at Allegiant, the recent spike in AR-21 numbers that recently seen is pretty concerning, and it's a systemic problem throughout the industry. It's not just any one carrier. So, the situation at Southwest is we'll know in the future what caused that. There's no good answer there other than that it wasn't a catastrophic haul loss, and unfortunately one passenger did lose their life, and that's tragic enough, and hopefully it puts a spotlight on, again, maintenance, and again, everybody doubles down on the responsibilities we take as aircraft mechanics. And I'm talking specifically the aircraft maintenance group this time around for this subject. I'm not trying to deviate off of the norm for everybody, but it's been a rough week. The Allegiant story, again, is one that talks about what I believe is a systemic problem in the industry, and that is people putting, again, priority in the wrong place, where they look at moving metal versus what risk comes with it, and the adverse effect that could happen. So I'll leave that there, and maybe we'll come back to that subject in the future. I wanted to follow up, and this will be short, and that is I just watched the videos today out of Philadelphia and then those out of Miami. And I think it's pretty clear that there's some disconnect in the management ranks, the senior leadership, and again, it's kind of like that conversation telephone where things get lost between person to person. And in this particular case, it's pretty clear that Robert Isom's view is a bit skewed, and Doug Parker's view is a bit skewed from the way things have been presented to the negotiating team and negotiating committee. And what I would say is that the critical piece, and I want to thank the IAM folks in Philly today for again emphasizing the importance of getting back to the table, and we're waiting. I'll say that, and I'll say that to Robert right now, as we're waiting for that call to tell us when you want to get to the table. It's been since, I think Jim Wheel said March 28th, and we're, moving along here like nothing's happened. Well, a lot has happened. A lot of time has passed with, again, management sitting on their hands saying it's not us, and we this and we that. Well, put some dates on the table where you want to meet with our negotiating committee, get together, and let's discuss how we close the deal out. But I think the significant part of it is, again, you see the passion from our membership that these concessionary offers aren't what we're looking for. And when I say concession, I want to make sure I frame this right. Bargaining is just that. We'll bargain for the best contract in the industry. But what they're saying is, and I'm glad they're admitting to it, is this isn't the best contract in the industry. We may have a piece here, but it fails here. And what it comes down to is, and I've told the membership, at least in our meetings, that there'll be a ton of pros in this contract if we get it right, and there'll be some cons, and that is bargaining. And on the company side, I think they have to look at it the same way. There's a lot of pros for them, and there'll be some cons. But at the end of the day, that's what negotiations is. But they've negotiated deals with the pilots and flight attendants that give them different things than we have. Their scheduling, their 401k, those things. But I want to spend a minute on medical. The medical piece is critical, because people sometimes don't correlate the cost to the individual, and that is, what we make is what we pay, and what a pilot makes is the same amount for their medical cost, and what Robert Isom pays is the same amount for his medical costs. We all pay the same amount, but we all make different levels of pay. And so the cost to folks in our group, it's much more substantial, obviously, than the flight crew, and then obviously the executives. It's not even it has zero impact on their paycheck, or it's pennies on the dollar versus dollars on the dollar to us. So this is an important subject. This slide, I want to show maybe the company how medical looks on the American Airlines side. Pre-2003, 2003 to bankruptcy, and then bankruptcy. And you'll see the spike. You'll see a trends along. We hit 2003, and then it spikes up, and it was going up, and that was a look back. And then we get to bankruptcy, and the spikes are just astronomical in the cost. Maybe that'll help them see the conversation of why medical insurance costs are so concerning to us. And again, that's one that maybe if we give them a visual on why we are so adamant about the subject of the American Airlines medical plans and what was forced on us in bankruptcy, maybe then we can get to some dialogue on how to correct that. And again, we're correcting it for our work group. The pilots, the flight attendants, everyone else will negotiate for their work groups when they get there, and they've all negotiated deals that fit their needs. We're negotiating for our membership on what fits our needs. So that's a critical part, and I just wanted to leave it at that. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just want to make note of the events of this last week, and really emphasize again, what we do and the importance of our job, and not to look at it and say, it's not something that is as important as any other part of the operation. We are the most critical part of the operation. Without us, I hate to use the term, but people do die, and we have to take every day seriously in the job we do, and we should be paid for that and recognized for that, folks. And that's everybody that works around these aircraft. So I appreciate your time, and hopefully the company will put some dates on the table, and we're waiting for them to do that. And when I say waiting, the onus is on them to set the dates and tell us when they're available. We're available to meet with them. We just need them to tell us when. And again, them not sending those dates out tells us that they're not serious, and they keep saying they have a proposal. Well, let's get to a conversation and get this deal done. Thank you.